Welcome back to part 2 of our mini-series on the Midwich TV movie specials. This episode will focus on Prehistoric World, which was made by Midwich Entertainment in 1987 and was included on the DVD version of Dinosaurs, Dinosaurs, Dinosaurs. This special was hosted by Gary Owens and Eric Boardman. For a closer look into Midwich Entertainment, as well as Gary Owens and Eric Boardman, check out my last video in this series, a dive into Dinosaurs, Dinosaurs, Dinosaurs. If you did see my last video, thank you. Your support means a ton to me, and I'm thrilled to have you along for the ride. Without further ado, let's dive into the second of 6 Midwich TV movie specials, Prehistoric World. We start the special at a very dimly lit retirement home in the future, in the far-off year 2029. Damn, I can't imagine those involved with this project thought anyone would be watching this in this decade. At this quite modest future retirement home, we see Nurse Wilcox, dressed as Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, catch Gary Owens and Eric Boardman skulking around in the dark. She tells them that she has special orders not to let the two do any TV specials about dinosaurs. Chevy Chase then says they weren't going to talk about dinosaurs, they were going to talk about prehistoric mammals.
The one about the weird creatures that came after the dinosaurs.
Nurse Wilcox allows them to proceed.
You sure you don't want to stay and hear about the show?
No. No.
And we get some meta humor with this fade out from Eric to start the special. After the Midwich logo, we're shown some mixed art, dinosaurs and prehistoric mammal models made by the Kyoto brothers. And we're introduced to the Cenozoic era, or the Age of Mammals, which is basically just the time from which mammals became the dominant species on Earth, which started 65 million years ago and still continues to this day. Cue title card and the change of setting to the Brea Tar Pits. The Brea Tar Pits, according to Geology Hub, started to form as far back as 25 million years ago. At this time, there was a shallow sea where the tar pits sat, or where West LA is now. Microscopic plankton in the sea would die, float to the bottom of the seabed, and over time, their remains would break down into crude oil. Eventually, these layers of crude oil accumulated and rose above surface level. The tar in the tar pits is actually asphalt, which is the lowest grade of crude oil. In the Prehistoric World video, they say tar was first used commercially to pave the streets of Los Angeles, before they figured out there were prehistoric remains in the tar. And while I could not confirm this, I don't doubt that it occurred at least for some duration of time. The leading and most plausible agreed upon theory of how the prehistoric mammal remains got into the pits is that when it rains, the tar gives off the impression that the liquid may be water, as oil and water don't mix. The animal most likely got confused, tried to take a drink of the water, and then got stuck. Subsequently, in all of that commotion, with much noise being generated by the splashing and the animal probably shrieking out in terror, caused other animals to try and pounce on this initial animal, and most likely getting those predators stuck in the process as well. Charlie Callis, our second guest star in this series, explains all this eloquently in the special.
Has a drink, he struggles, he's trapped.
Dire wolves, a prehistoric wolf that was larger than any wolf we have now, are the most common prehistoric skeletal mammal remains that have been found in the Brea Tar Pits. There has only been one human skeleton found in the tar pits, believed to be around 10,000 years old. It's slightly creepy that there is a human skeleton mixed in with all these prehistoric mammals. These days, there's an on-site museum, the Page Museum, where they have one of the largest collections of prehistoric mammal remains in the world. There, visitors can enjoy the wonder of the Brea Tar Pits without any of the fear of ending up like so many other prehistoric beings. If you did fall in, you'd end up on a Mr. Ballin video for sure. We move on to the inside of the Page Museum, where we run into Frank Nelson for the second time. Frank Nelson asks Eric for the entrance fee, which Eric then replies that he's doing a TV special.
Really? And you don't want to pay like everybody else?
Eric then introduces Gary Owens to Frank to prove the validity of his claim. Nelson says, yeah, that's cool, but you still have to pay. That's where the joke should end.
And the three fellas that say, roll 'em, roll 'em, roll 'em.
Switch scenes to Gary and paleontology curator George Jefferson, both of which are at the Page Museum standing in front of the paleontology laboratory viewing window, which is still an operational feature today from what I've researched. Moving away from the Page Museum and the viewing window, we move to Professor George Seidel. He tells us about the ideal genetic material for de-extinction of prehistoric mammals.
Probably be the sperm. The sperm in a mammal is kind of like a seed to a plant.
So this next section, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the process of de-extinction, and there's just slight medical gore in an example that I talk about. And if you don't want to hear about the process of de-extinction in kind of a science medical kind of way, I would skip to this section in the video, which I looked around on and seems maybe slightly plausible that you might be able to use semen particularly to bring back a prehistoric, but I couldn't find any examples of semen specifically being used to even attempt de-extinction. From what I've researched, most of the de-extinction attempts I've been able to find were done by a combination of in vitro fertilization of an embryo that is made up of combining nuclei from the extinct animal and placing this piece into what in this case would be a common goat egg cell that has been stripped of its DNA, essentially making one complete, albeit compromised, embryo. This patchworked embryo is then injected into a surrogate which normally would be a common relative of the extinct animal. In this example, again, a common goat to a Pyrenean ibex. With this case, according to this article from The Atlantic by Alexis C. Madrigal, or Alexis C. Madrigal, dated March 18, 2013, states that the crew working on the Celia clone / ibex clone injected 57 of these makeshift embryos into that number respective of common goats. Of those 57 goats, only 7 of those goats got pregnant successfully. And out of those 7 pregnancies, only 1 was actually carried to term, delivered via cesarean section. To label this process as messy is a massive understatement. After all this, we're shown the dire wolf skulls and the funny looking model, and we transition to Eric in front of the bones of a prehistoric lion.
If you doesn't mind my begging your pardon.
No. Here we are corrected in that this is actually an American lion that was larger than African lions we have now, by our next guest star, William Saluga, otherwise known as his stage name, Ray J. Johnson Jr., who is only known for a single joke, which in my opinion is the #1 anti-joke of all time. One day soon I'll make a short video on it, but for now, for the sake of this video,
You can call me Ray, or you can call me Jay, or...
Next, we touch on the subject of saber-toothed cats, which are distinguished by their huge canine teeth. When I think prehistoric, I pictured these cats, honestly. We're told that a possible factor that led to their extinction may have been because
It is possible that those fangs were growing so big that the cats could no longer open their mouths wide enough.
to successfully bite their prey.
Which, in my opinion, may be a very small outlier. Genetic mutations of this variety may have occurred, even maybe semi-frequently, but quite frankly, the main reasons for saber-toothed cats' extinction, according to various sources, are environmental change, decline in prey population, and increases in human hunting activity. Our next scene starts with Eric at the New Mexico Museum of Natural History. He takes us to this dimly lit cave replica to tell us how caves are formed. In short, carbon dioxide in the air combines with rainwater to form rain with a higher acidity. This acidic rain then goes underground to meet limestone, and over time dissolves the limestone. That same limestone is moved away as the rainwater moves as well, leaving a vacant space underground, otherwise known as a cavern or cave. We learn the difference about stalactites and stalagmites, and Eric tells us that the animals who fell into a cave similar to this replica fell into surface level holes or got stuck in the caves in other fashions, and these skeletal remains are more well preserved than their above surface counterpart due to the damp, dark coolness of the cave. After leaving the cave, we are here at the British Natural History Museum to see a type of glyptodon, which is an ancestor of the armadillo. We also see one of the largest recreations of a giant ground sloth. In one of our last scenes, Eric interviews Dougal Dixon, who specializes in speculative zoology, and according to Wikipedia, has written over 100 books on the subjects of geology, paleontology, and potential future zoology. He has made such works as Zoology of the Future, Man After Man, and The New Dinosaurs. His most famous and popular book, Man After Man, sells for over $200 regularly on eBay. This book contains super interesting and intriguing material regarding future possible creatures. It's a really neat read in my opinion. If you'd like to see much more illustrations from this book and talk just a little bit about them, I actually highly recommend Roman MC's video on this subject. Dixon actually goes on to show us a few mini models of different potential future creatures that he believes could possibly evolve from the creatures of today. The first shown is this weird camel/rabbit type hybrid. The little model is almost cute in a weird way, but the large scale model is terrifying. Dougal then shows us an animal he thinks may take the place of whales.
A penguin might very well evolve into the shape of a whale. It's halfway there already, isn't it? It lives at sea, it chases fish.
Just like a whale does.
Just like a whale indeed.
Then we're shown this skull, which Dougal says is the skull of a creature that may take the wolf's position.
Now I think the rat is in a perfectly good position to do this. And if you could imagine a rat grown as big as a wolf, this would be very much what it would look like.
I don't want to be around for that rat.
Then it's on to my favorite mini model of the whole group, which is this rabbit who evolved with deer-like qualities.
The running legs instead of the hopping legs, and a long neck to enable it to reach leaves and the trees and the grass on the ground.
It's definitely the cutest one. Next, we see what even Dougal refers to as...
This is a really bizarre creature, flightless bat from a group of ocean islands in the future.
that looks like the honeycomb mascot. Flashback/TV special over, and it's back to the retirement home again, where Nurse Wilcox is insisting the two hosts get to bed. Honestly, there's only one way to me that I can interpret this next clip.
Just finishing up the Dougal Dixon part. And I was doing such a great job on Dougal, too. Oh, yeah.
The only way this makes sense is if it's implied that on this timeline they've been going back and forth doing the voices the entire TV special. Sure. The two then sneak off, and somehow, through either proximity or sheer determination, Eric Boardman and Gary Owens end up at the Brea Tar Pits, where they're confronted by the security guard, played by the same actor who was the elevator doorman in Dinosaurs, Dinosaurs, Dinosaurs. He said that he recognizes them and that he saw their special in high school, and he lets them hang around until they are going to be picked up later. The execution of all this is very poor, to say the least. Similar to Ray J. Johnson, I feel I could make an entire separate video similar to the Real Jim's Extra Seconds on how egregious the execution of this scene is. The two head up to the roof to gaze out at the tar pits, and we get the closing quote from Gary Owens.
They've told us so much about the past, and long after we're gone, they'll still be revealing secrets of our prehistoric world.
And that, my friends, was Prehistoric World. In my opinion, this special leaned too heavily on gimmicky and hacky routines, possibly to fill time, and could have done a little more with the source material that they were given. Prehistoric mammals to me are really fascinating. They have sort of this uncanny valley aspect to them that I myself find intriguing. One of the most interesting aspects of living on planet Earth, in my opinion, is knowing that we have shared the planet with some amazing creatures who lived in the past, and that there are unique features of our planet that are natural, like the Brea Tar Pits. As Gary Owens said, they truly will be unlocking the stories of these creatures of Earth for years and years.